Hello. For the second part of the Microsoft Office, I'm going to be spending less time in Microsoft Office and more time discussing the file structure that can support the saved files that you have. Now, I'm looking at my file menu now, and when you look over at your left side, you're going to see different areas on your computer, and they're going to vary wildly between different people. On my computer, I have a quick access to things. I have the Creative Cloud, that's for Adobe. I have OneDrive stuff. There's not very much on it. There's a few documents and the SPSS program that's for calculating out quantitative equations. Then these are the various areas of the PC. Typically, you're going to be working down on your drives, which is where you're going to be saving files. I have two internal drives, an external drive, and a USB drive. And currently, the USB stick has lesson plans that I'm working with. We're going to be working down on the expansion drive, and I'm just trying to get, thank you, my cat has decided to sit on the microphone. I think that when I'm talking, he thinks I'm talking to him, but I'm not. On the F drive, my external drive here, I have a number of files that I have put various things in. Fan fiction that I've written, ebooks that I've collected, bought basically, 3DX model sheets that I'm designing from. We're going to be working in the archive, and under the UOP, in the last video we ended with 531. We had created a temporary file and we were going to delete it. That has been deleted. This is actually the second time that I'm creating this. Because I accidentally clicked on a final learning teams which displayed the members' names plus their phone numbers, and I don't want that going on the web. So we're going to look at a different folder that I can be safe clicking on, and that's the dissertation. Because this has been published, so therefore it's already out there. Now, when you're looking up in the top window here, this is your path. And so sometimes if you're not real familiar with computers, people will talk about a path that you're going to save files to. This is what they mean. I went to the drive F, under the folder archive, under the folder UOP, under the folder dissertation, and then I'll have, say, whatever this file is here. And I'll have the different versions of the file that show up here. And then this is version 15 for it. There's a different folder on this drive that actually has subversions. So I have version 15A, B, C, like this. So there's quite a few different things that are on this drive. Now, I could go up a level in the directory, and this is going to be back to the UOP. These are the folders that I had classes in, or in this case and this case, I had large groups of presentation material, and then below it I have unsorted files that for whatever reason just didn't get put into the files and into the folders, and a lot of times you'll see that I have different versions of those files. And so they go on for a while. And then if I went back another level into the archive, this is only one piece of a much larger archive. ResearchCat is supporting my channel. Photos, I have an entire folder dedicated to my cat. And then I sometimes run a Call of Cthulhu game, so I have put that here until I can figure out where to put it. And I have a cool folder plan here that I like, and then I also have down here a I'll have something like the book. This is the revised copy of a book that I published, so that went off for publishing. This is the manuscript. So you'll have a number of different things, and then I have a whole folder of writing drafts that someday I will figure out what to do with, but I don't know what. They're pieces of stories. So right now we're going to focus on the schoolwork. I like to have lots of little folders under one directory so that I can navigate easily. I do not like to have lots of main directory folders so that I don't want to see, for me, UOP and under that on the same level to be 3D Principles, 531, 541. That's fine if that's the way you like it. I wanted that everything that I did under University of Phoenix would be under one particular college. So currently I'm working at HVCC, so I would say recommend to the students they create a folder for Hudson Valley Community College and then put all of their classes under it, and then when they have a class in whatever this is, then academic coaching, I believe, then they would take this particular thing and put all their assignments into one class. That would be my recommendation for it. Now, when we're looking at something that was complicated like the dissertation, then I have other folders that have under it different versions of those proposals. So Tidwell was one of my peers who graduated a year, I think, ahead of me, and he helped out quite a bit in helping figure some of the stuff out, mostly on how to get some of the technology to work inside of Microsoft Office. And then I had his proposal and I sent him some potential corrections as well. He was extremely helpful because while I was doing these versions, each one of these versions was a submission. And so it felt like for a while I was never going to get this thing written. Because I would submit a version and it would come back rejected, and about 7 days later I'd submit another version and work on it about 15 days, submit another version, and this is kind of how it went for forever. So when you're creating these folders, by right-clicking, you can set down and say, I want to create a new, and set up a new folder. And in this folder, I'm going to put in temporary work. So now I have this temporary work, and now the folder is empty, and I can put into that new things. In this case, I'm going to create another folder, and I'm going to put in this folder that it is a fake folder because there's not anything in it, and I'm going to end up deleting it. Now this little arrow says that there is a directory underneath it. By closing that level, I'll be able to see the top level of that folder. It's not the top level of the path, that's still the expansion drive. When people are saving to a location, one of the advantages of saving to a location is that you're saving and you know where that spot is going to be all the time. And then you're always just saving files into whatever your system is. There are people that hate my system. And that's fine. There are people that I met with in my peers and they asked why I've saved all of these old files. I think their quote was something along the line of, when I get done with college, I don't plan to ever revisit my papers. But one of these papers was on adaptive hypermedia, and I was able to take that up, dress it up with the new technology, but I wasn't starting new, and then I was able to publish that on a publishing call. So one reason to keep it is that while my writing has improved drastically over most of these papers, it gives me at least a sample of papers, and is this something that I actually want? And so by having the annotated bibliographies, it's quite useful for later work that I want to do. Now, it's also important because each one of these have become videos on something that I will probably do. So I'll probably create a video on change theory. And so therefore I have a starting place on where I want to go with change theory. I'm not starting from 0. I'm starting from maybe 5 in a 10-step process. I would recommend students, even if you're not familiar with an online or with a lot of computer work, that you really don't have to print out a enormous number of documents. By saving the documents onto Word, you can save them on a flash drive, and if you save them with an annotated bibliography, it will tell you just a little paragraph about what it is. I did not write my paragraphs for the teacher. I generally took the attitude, excuse me, a wrong key hit. I generally took the attitude that everything I'm going to write is for publication later on. I might not be able to do it now, but I will eventually. And so, therefore, I have a lot of files that I can then use for that. Now, there's a couple of free programs, and then there's Endnote that I used. Endnote allows you, and I have a video on this that I can link to. Endnote will have, for instance, the reference page that is here, the preview of what it looks like when it gets put into the paper, and then the actual PDF is here. And there's a search function on this that allows me to check to see if there's any updates to the article and to be able to pull out any of the documents themselves and be able to see and quickly read the documents. In this case, I'm not going to print out, for me, and pay for that matter. I'm not going to print out a library full of documents when I can save the 374 documents that I have and have them set up between all of the different sources that I'm looking at. Now, if you're planning to go to community college and you're going to stay at community college or even high school, and you're not really planning to go much further for that, I think I would just go for this. This is a little bit easier. Set up a document. It's a little bit easier to put it into maybe sections for it. But if you're thinking of taking a four-year degree or a technical degree, or you're going to go for your master's or your doctorate, then I would strongly suggest you pick up some sort of a program that can organize your files. The biggest mistake I did is I picked this up during my master's program, and I really wish that I had done this during my bachelor's program or my associate's programs, because then that would have been even more information that would have taken me a few extra steps forward and to save me time for it. When we're looking at, so as a kind of a review here, when you're looking at file structures, the file path is your drive and then your folders to what your document itself is. You want to name your files something that by looking down through the files, you get a pretty good idea of what they are. I know that this file is going to be on social justice. This was written about the same time. It probably is best practices of social justice. If you're looking at something here, you're looking at your various assessment methods. You're looking at team evaluations, which I don't really need now, but maybe I want to get contact of those teams because the team evaluations have the emails of all the people that I've worked with over time, and most of them I would be willing to work with again. You can right-click and get information for it, and usually the information you care about is the size. If the size is larger than 10 or 15 megabytes, you're going to have a hard time sending it by email. And that's where PowerPoint can run into problems. I'll cover that on a different video. By organizing your files out, it allows you to access the files and navigate through them in a easy way. And I should also add that this is currently sitting on an SSD drive, a solid state hard drive. When I change computers, I have no intentions of copying all of this. I will unhook this drive and put it into the next drive. Well, actually, this particular drive is on the expansion drive. But I will take this drive, plug it into the next computer, and I will copy this drive as a backup. And I've done this now through 4 computers. This is not the computer that I went to school on. So it's not really a bad idea. I think the drive, the 1 terabyte drive that I have now is a Seagate, and I paid a little under $100 for it. Something like, it's not the same drive as I had either because I've been copying files, but that's saved me an enormous amount of time. Because if I don't need these files, and I wasn't going to do YouTube or I wasn't going to be teaching in this area anymore, I would just take the hard drive, shove it into a file cabinet, and not deal with it. So I really tell students to try to keep all of their information out and keep it sorted in a way that you can get it even years after the fact. If you have any questions, you can answer them down in the comments below. And I'll put the links in for the other videos that I mentioned with Endnote and PowerPoint. I'll go back in when I update and put in a video on PowerPoint and how to save with Access. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again. Take care.